You once said in an interview that your ambition was to start a nonprofit wilderness camp for disadvantaged children.
Still is.
Still is. How is that coming along, or?
Well, I mean, it's coming along a lot differently than I had planned it. I never really accepted poker as being a full-time, long-term endeavor until about last year.
I remember talking to you in maybe 2007, and you're like, yeah, this is not what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and it never really was. But I feel like I've made it to the industry at a point where I can generate enough passive income that I don't have to deal with the stresses of the ups and downs. And I think that you have to be really, really good, which I'm not, to be able to do that full time and be able to maintain the income level and the peace of mind and the lack of stress to live a normal, healthy lifestyle. And I have ambitions of getting married and having children and raising a family in a reasonably normal home.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't really sure if that was ever going to be possible until the last year and a half or so. I was ultimately planning on spending summers doing different things, building up my experience. I'm a little rusty now, but I was pretty good in the wilderness. I'm a pretty good guide.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to accumulate as much knowledge as I could, and eventually start working at a camp and move up full time, and eventually save enough money.
So when's this going to happen?
I don't know anymore. It'll happen when it happens, but I definitely feel that with poker, I'll be able to raise the capital that I need to buy 500 acres of property and start a camp. It takes a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there just really wasn't any way to do that in any sort of job that I could have in the dropout lack of a degree that I have.
Right.
So.
Well, unlike other poker players, which this is the thing I love about you most, is that you do travel and you get out there outside of poker and you see places. Like you went on your U.S. trip across the U.S., right? I mean, what did you do? Where all did you go?
Every year it gets hot as balls in Vegas, so I always go somewhere.
You want out of here.
This year I was trying to figure out what I was going to do. I found out that the band Fish got back together, and it was always one of my biggest regrets that I never got to go to a Fish show.
Okay.
So I kind of wanted to go see Fish and go do something like that. And then Court Harrington, he's like, well, why don't you come out to my lake house? And I'm like, that sounds cool too, but man, that's way over there.
My hometown.
Yep, that's, the cicadas trip me out. They're so loud.
Really? That's so funny. I was going to ask you, how's Hillbilly Land? Since I already know how it is, I want to hear what you think of it.
Well, the whole flatland in between kind of drove me nuts, but once I hit Ohio, it was okay again, because I rode along the Ohio River Valley and eventually got into North Carolina and stayed at Court's place for like a week, and flew down for Legends and made a good run there, and then got my heart broken, and then flew back. Spent a few days there, and then I headed straight to the East Coast, got to Myrtle Beach.
Been there.
Camped out there. Basically, I pitched a tent in the rain, went to the bar, came back, played 1020 stud around a campfire. It was a good night. Then I hugged the East Coast all the way down, Georgia, and all the way down the coast of Florida, and made it down to Key Largo, camped there, head all the way out to Key West.
Crazy.
I was going to camp there, but they wanted like $100 a night for a campground, and I lost my mind on this lady. They're like, $100 a night, but you can't have that one by the water because that's for RVs. I'm like, there's nobody there. There was like 5% of the spots occupied.
Expensive there.
Yeah, I went and stayed on Duval Street and had a great time down there, and then turned around and came back up the Gulf Coast and up to Colorado, brought the snow, couldn't cross the Rockies, turned around south, crossed Albuquerque or across New Mexico, Arizona, and ended up back home after 62 days and 10,500 miles and change.
All right, Devo, like Jimmy Fricke, you are a regular guest host on Poker Road Radio. You guys even have your own B-Team show now that you do every now and then. How'd you get involved?
I got involved with Poker Road after a long night at the bar with Gavin Smith.
That makes sense.
Somewhere around 5 a.m. or so, where time kind of blurs into it's just dark time. I texted Joe. I was blogging for Poker Pages, RIP, and I was like, hey, Joe, I think that my blog needs to be on Poker Road.
It's a good fit.
And so, yeah, that was it wasn't that long ago. It was somewhere in '08, early '08.
Maybe a year.
So, yeah. So we talked about it and said cool and made it happen. And I was on the radio show for the first time, Reno. And I just kind of stayed on for the whole show. It was like a final table preview, and I was always kind of itching to be on the show. I think it's fun. The way the B team really got started was like we guest hosted a few times here and there just to fill in. And then last year's LAPC in February, like they had a show scheduled and Ali and Joe and Gavin like couldn't be there. And it was like just Court. And Court's like, what do I do? So he got Jimmy and I to do it, and so we did it. And like one of the first few minutes on the air, I'm like, wow, they like put together the B team. So it
You're
stuck,
the one who came up with that.
Yeah, I coined it, and they asked us to do the shows this summer, and they came off really well, and I had a lot of fun doing it.
Any plans to do any more media stuff?
I mean, I like to get my hands involved in whatever I can. Like, there's so much value in poker outside of playing poker, and I'm not very good at poker, so I've got to...
Stop saying that.
I'm really not. Like, I'm not the best, and it would be pretty hard to ever be the best, but, there's money to be made in the other things that I'm good at, which is talking clearly without saying and like.
Yeah, you're good on the radio.
Thank you.
Yeah. On July 19th, 2008, you wrote a blog titled Poker, Faith, Religion, and Life. And I know you know about this blog. In it, you opened up about a lot of your past, your beliefs, some of your inner struggles. Tell me a little bit about the blog and why you felt like you wanted to be so open with everyone.
I need to reread that blog before I can speak specifically about it. I wrote that blog the night before I left to St. Martin. And I remember what spurred that blog was I went up to the Camp Forest home that I used to work at, and I spent some time up there, gave them a good chunk of money, and it just kind of rekindled a lot of those memories of, what I did with my life when I was, in 2000 to 2003, basically. I've always tried to be pretty open in my blog. And I've always written my blog for myself, really, because I want to be able to go back and look at it 20 years from now and actually be like, yeah, that's real. That is what I was thinking. That is what was going on. That isn't
crazy or not, that's what's happening.
And it's me. Like, I don't think there's any reason to be anything else besides who you are. And if you're pretending that you're not feeling something that you are, I think you are pretending that you're not being who you are.
Sure.
So.
Well, I know it ended on a positive note, where you were saying, you know what? You said you felt okay with being a professional gambler who also loves Jesus. That's what you said. Do you think it's hard to maintain balance, with work and your beliefs? Is that hard?
It is a challenge, especially because, people in general go with the flow a lot. And if you're doing church stuff with church people, it's pretty easy to go with the church flow. If you're doing poker things with poker people, it's pretty easy to go with the poker flow. And oftentimes the poker flow includes booze and strippers and gambling.
Yep.
Which is everything every Southern Baptist disdains.
Exactly.
So, and I had a pretty rough history with the church and poker in general. And, I worked at a church in Colorado in like 04, 05, and they paid me $900 a month. Well, the money came from somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they definitely weren't cool with that at all, which bummed me out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it is. Our world that we live in is a little weird compared to normal people, I guess you could say. Through all your life experiences, what are some good words to live by?
Well, I have the Bible verse, James 4:14, tattooed on my leg.
Yeah?
You do not even know what will happen tomorrow, for what is your life? It is a vapor which appears for a moment and then vanishes.
I like it.
Yeah. I try to live by that a lot. I also have the Greek word agape right here.
Okay.
That means unconditional love. And I try to love people that way.
And last thing, finish this sentence for me. Bryan Devonshire will play poker professionally until?
He's done.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks,
All
man.
done.